we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. George R.R. Martin says he's sorry for people who only care about Winds of Winter. Now, when we covered, what did we cover? We covered the backlash to calling critics, people who called critics of the trailer for the Ring of Power, they likened them to murderers, which I love the hyperbole. We almost covered today. I was going to cover how this reviewer from Cinema Blend, which is a site we use here a lot. I can usually tell the bend of these websites by the writing, what articles they choose to print and when. And Cinema Blend is very progressive as far as the writing. It's kind of like AV Club in that way. But this writer basically wrote a review of the movie Turning Red that was just like, you know what? It's a movie about
I have thoughts about that movie,
but we might do another video on that whole thing separately. But the point is like this reviewer got like lambasted for what he said, and the same thing happened with the trailer for that. But now there's this stuff about, now they're back to talking about George R.R. Martin and the fact that he just hasn't finished
11-year anniversary of his last book.
To the point now where it's funny because like I saw the show. I did not see the last season. I know how awful it was. I know how much people hate that show. I know how Benioff and Weiss, I don't remember. It's D.B. Weiss, and then I don't remember the other guy's first name. But they're like, as a production team, are kind of like, they were supposed to do Star Wars after this. They failed up and got like a huge Netflix deal. But that's besides the point, because the books are where you find the most rabid of fan bases back in the day. So this article, it's just, I feel so bad for this guy, because I wonder if part of it is,
at this point.
I wonder if part of it is right, like just like when you write something that like it would have been better to finish the books, not just for the TV show sake, but for his own sake, to finish the books before making the television shows,
1,000%,
which turned it into like this cultural phenomenon that I bet you he feels kind of uninspired to write. Like, he doesn't know how to finish it now.
I have a huge theory.
Okay, well, we'll start with the article. It says we're now coming up on the 11th anniversary of A Dance with Dragons, the fifth and at the moment the latest installment of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series of fantasy novels. To be completely fair, I've told you before, high fantasy isn't my thing. The language is hard
Neither
for me
is
to. But I understand the cultural relevance and the significance that these series have had on pop culture and culture in general. When you really think about it, the amount of acting careers it's launched in the movies, what books like this, Tolkien, and even in a way, even though I don't really consider it the same thing as high fantasy, Rowling did for reading at a time when reading is kind of falling by the wayside, right? So it says those 10 years plus have seen a lot of changes for Martin, who's already been a big name in the genre writing world on the backs of both. Do you know how to pronounce that? That's just the abbreviation for. I was like, what?
A Song of Ice and Fire.
A Song of Ice and Fire, and also a number of other projects, but who has since been elevated to much wider fame by the success of HBO's TV adaptation of his work, Game of Thrones. Along with the uptick in fame, though, has come less desired attention, namely endlessly increased volume, high volume requests to know when The Winds of Winter, the penultimate book in the series, might actually get around to coming out. What do you think?
My theory is that, okay, so if you know the history of him hiring the directors that eventually did the show, was that he asked them a couple of questions about the plot, and he had them fill out how they thought the story would end.
Okay.
Right? So essentially he was like, are you actually fans of the books or not?
But I heard Benioff and Weiss hadn't even read the books when they went on to direct.
Okay, well then...
Miracle, can you look that Benioff, and see, it says see if they read his books before they went on to direct, because they only did the last few seasons, right?
That I don't know.
Can you check that? Okay, so keep going.
So my theory is that the last season that everyone absolutely hated is actually how he intended to finish the books. And so imagine, so you're working on this like big epic, like it's literally like the biggest show on television since Breaking Bad or something, right? And the finale that everyone's waiting for, it actually happens and everyone hates it. And like he has to go out and be like, oh, mine's gonna be so much better, guys.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Mine's gonna be better. 11 years.
11 years. It's funny too because he could even theoretically, given that writing and writing and film are different mediums, he could do the same ending and do it better.
That's what I'm thinking, because like,
But now he's scared because of how badly
Right.
it's forever tainted just by the fact that the other one exists first.
I don't think that the ending was, well, the show ending was like abysmal, but it was the way it was done. It was the fact that it was rushed. It was the fact that, I mean, there's a scene with a Starbucks coffee cup.
That's iconic now. That picture of
Legendary.
I've seen that on T-shirts now. That where they point out like it's like a T-shirt of that scene, and then it's got like a red box around the Starbucks cup.
Like, it just, imagine how much they weren't caring.
I wonder who got fired for. I mean, somebody had to have gotten fired.
Somebody should have got lit on fire.
Yes.
It's like, what
Okay,
should happen?
okay. I'm not sure if we don't actually believe that.
The faults
but
of Dane Fault do not reflect the faults of pop culture.
Yes, theoretically they should have been. Okay, yes.
In a video
Well,
game.
yes. If there was a video game Avatar or a
Correct.
Sims, a sim of creating Game of Thrones, then yes, then
Works for
fine.
Hassan Piker, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, I think it was his actual thing. He talked about it with the guys. The guys wanted Star Wars, so they were just like working crazy to like have it out.
Mhm.
And it sucked. It was like the ultimate flop in history. I don't think a show's ever flopped that hard. And they just got him with his pants down, and now he's like tried everything to like fill up the time for him to actually like reinvent something, but that's what I think is happening.
See, that's interesting because I had a completely different theory about it. It's funny because this thing it's permeated pop culture to the point where the first thing I think of, oddly enough, because of my weird brain, when I think of these books not getting done, there's a show. There was a show on the CW called iZombie, which is based off an old Vertigo property. And there's an episode where Liv Moore is she's like a zombie that has to eat brains to stay like human appearing. And they solve crimes with Clive Babineau, who's played by Malcolm Goodwin. He's a detective in the show. And Clive Babineau is this really buttoned down, he wears like a really tight suit to work every day, and he's very, very stoic. You get very little emotion out of the guy, but they have a couple of episodes where you get random facts about stuff this guy likes, and it's supposed to be like this really interesting window into like he loves to bake and cook. He doesn't like to show This Is Us because he finds it emotionally manipulative. And then he's a really big fan of Game of Thrones. And anytime you bring it up, he gets really angry. And they say, well, if you wanna piss him off, just ask him this question: what is George R.R. Martin doing? And every time he gets that question, he goes, not writing.
For real.
So it's like him not writing has kind of become a pop culture reference point in and of itself, which I find kind of funny because he's open about talking about like he gives people updates pretty regularly. He's got a pretty popular.
Lying.
He's got a popular blog.
He has writer's blog up of the wazoo.
Yeah.
If like, man, I could write a book in 11 years.
See, if it wasn't that my theory was that if it wasn't the penultimate. If perhaps he has the last two done, and he's not going to have them come out until he's dead.
I mean,
that was my
that was the theory that came out.
That was okay. So it's right here. So Article 3 here. It's AV Club. It says conspiracy theory: George R. Martin has secretly finished Winds of Winter. This article's from way back in 2017. So it says George R. Martin has it kind of rough. He started writing the first books in his world-beating fantasy saga, A Song of Ice and Fire, in 1991. Imagine starting something more than 20 years ago that a ravenous horde of nearly 60 million people would love you to finish as soon as you can. Thanks. At this point, at this point, he should consider just publishing a bulleted list of plot points from the final two books and taking a vacation. But the constant, sometimes invasive speculation about the state of Book 6, The Winds of Winter, may be having some effect. In a recent LiveJournal post, Martin confesses to having barely any time to see any movies, read any books, or upgrade any newer social media network. Oh, boo-hoo.
George R. R. Martin is the king of normies. And he essentially just has an old man emo skin. Beyond that,
how so?
He has the opinions of 13-year-old girls, like pretty much everyone in this country right now.
This could be proven by the fact that he did this update on LiveJournal.
Yeah,
and LiveJournal hasn't been cool since never.
Dude, he's got writer's block. No one liked his ending. He's spiraling. And the worst thing is gonna be like when the books actually come out and people find that disappointing as well.
Well, but this thing, the longer he waits, the less likely it is to be accepted because
Exactly,
the expectations get too high. This happens every time they it's like imagine right now somebody's like imagine they tried to do a Back to the Future sequel.
Because the market is gonna be like a tale 15 years in the making.
Yeah, exactly.
From the genius George R. Martin.
Yeah.
They'll get just some British lady to do all that shit.
And he's going to be like, could you not call me a genius? I'm trying to
Yeah.
temper the
Stop it, girl.
expectations just a tiny bit. It says in a Vanity Fair, in fact, as Vanity Fair points out, Martin's slate of projects is conspicuously full, potentially executive producing another HBO series. That's what we're talking about now, which I don't think that one ever came out, right? The HBO one. It went, and then Amazon bought Lord of the Rings, and now they're doing, what's the name of the one that they're doing for Game of Thrones now?
I have no idea what this game
House of Dragons.
It's
about the Targaryens,
And
the
that-
story before the Mad King.
The money.
Yes.
He wants the money.
But also, to answer your question, I couldn't find an article that said confirming that he read the book or not.
Benioff and Weiss,
Yeah.
the two guys.
It didn't say, they didn't confirm completely.
Okay.
So whatever Dane is saying, somebody fact check it better than me.
Yeah, I mean that's the lore at least
But-
for like years ago. So
Yeah, but I heard before.
didn't he say that in an interview? I'm
Maybe.
pretty sure.
I couldn't find it, but before they said that they're trying to program an AI to write the last book for George, and they said the AI couldn't write it completely because it included characters that already previously died.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, this is a failed project.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I couldn't find anything. I might have misremembered that. I mean, that was so a couple of years ago that
Yeah,
I
I couldn't find it. Like, there's no information about it.
That is a missed opportunity on my part. I should have checked it. Well, I wasn't even going to bring them up. I only brought them up because I was going to look into, because they were going to do a Star Wars.
And by the way,
movie.
he's not gonna finish it this year either because that article you sent me, he was like 2020. I got a lot of work done on it. You know,
Yeah.
2021 not so much.
I like imagine somebody should make a movie if it's like the last page and you just can't figure out
He
how.
doesn't
to
say how
finish it.
far along he is. Like
But yeah, I agree what Brett said, because they did say there was rumors that they were planning to release the 2 books after he died.
why?
Well,
Because
because
he doesn't want to deal with the criticism.
Well,
That's fine with me.
also,
Do you think so?
also like a lot of artworks that,
That's kind of a bitch move,
well,
frankly. Don't you
art-
think so?
a lot of arts that are sold after an artist is dead, they get sold more
Well,
than
yeah.
them being alive.
I mean, for his family.
well,
I'm sure his family's doing just fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
Like,
I don't know if the
what does he
money's,
need?
Mhm.
He
I don't
doesn't
think the
need
money's the
anything.
reason, but I just thought that was my interesting theory on it. Like if I was him and I finished this book and I just didn't want to deal with the criticism, I just feel like deal with it when I'm dead.
Listen, he's a normie. He loves being king of the normies. He's making all the normie shows. Normies are like over the moon with him. They'll love it. But like as a former copywriter, writing's hard. Having writer's block sucks.
I bet.
He obviously has writer's block if like he can't like crank out one of this book in like 11 years. So I mean,
Expectations too high, man.
they're gonna be high anyway, dude. Like bestseller.
So basically, you're saying
like,
just
kid
stuck it
show.
up, bro, and
Stuck
just release it.
Do the old Joe Rowe. Don't read the comments.
There you go. That's what I do.
do what Brett does.
Yep.
Don't read it at all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Other than that Twitter comment, which
No, I read some of the Instagram comment or the YouTube comments fairly recently. It's fairly nice on the recent videos. So it is what it is.
I don't know. For me, I'm like, good for him. He wrote a book. Why not?
So she has no opinion.
I have no opinion because my uncle, I remember he was reading it when it was like still in its prime. And like I was asking him what he was reading because he was reading it on his phone. And I was
That
like,
sounds really tedious.
yeah,
Super. Uh-huh.
yeah. Well, he had those big ass phones.
Like a note,
Maybe.
one of those huge notes
Yeah.
that
And he
started
was
on fire.
maybe.
Do you think it's done?
I think it's done.
He's just a little sissy that doesn't want to hear it.
I think it's done.
I think it's super done.
I mean, that
Both books.
makes perfect sense. 11 years. He could have finished both by now. Dane's like, I don't like this idea.
Maybe. You know what? Maybe I do like it actually.
My
I wish
question-
it were true.
My question is, the actor who played Joffrey, do you think he still gets punched in the face?
He got punched in the face?
No, he has a punchable face. Do you think he would get punched in the face because his character was so annoying?
Yeah, maybe.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm in like an angry mood, weird angry mood lately.
Yeah.
Like I just want to throw punches for some weird reason.
Women privilege that they can just want to throw punches and not expect anything to happen in return.
Mm-hmm.
No? No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Eh.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.